Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of IRENA. I really appreciate this lovely country. First time I'm here. Really very beautiful, very nice. I would like to say a few words on regarding how we understand renewables are important in the current situation in the world. First, we are, I think it's better, yeah. Now, the world, as you can see, is living a crisis. We live in a climate change world, so there is a potential impact regarding economic and social, issues, institutional, and also the energy crisis that we have been talking about. So we have here a huge responsibility. There is a need for a proper global energy transformation. We are talking about something that's really a tipping point in the history and in our current situation. We really need to be as much as possible sustainable, and there is a role there for renewable. So that's our context here. And as you know, India, there are a lot of, arguments that we can explain that, but there's a key responsibility related to India and how India, should tackle this energy matrix change, as we have been discussing since now. So the energy transformation is vital for our understanding. So that's the role of IRENA. For those who don't know IRENA, we are an international organization based in Bonn, our headquarters, and we have offices in Germany as well. Our mandate, as you can see, is to promote and to foster all kinds of renewable energy, and I would say also energy efficiency, and also, of course, a sustainable way. And you can see we are kind of country members. We have a lot of countries, almost all the world. We are very global in that sense. So I would like to address 4 aspects on this global energy transformation. The first one, we have the Global Energy Report. We have just launched, and you can see the key findings here. On 2050, we have a huge challenge. We need to reduce, as you can see, a lot of emissions to address the carbon budget that's required for less than 2 degrees increase in temperature. So the cumulative emissions, and you can see at the right side, the right graph, that there are a lot of aspects that we have to address in all the sectors: buildings, transport, district heating, power, and industry. So that's the effort, that's the level of the transformation that we're talking about. And as you can see, renewables and energy efficiency have a major role there. So how much are we talking about? As you can see, until 2050, we need 120 trillions, that's trillions of investments, US dollars. And in order to make that happen, there are a lot of improvements that are needed in terms of technologies, in terms of business, in terms of regulations and policies. But of course, we're talking here not just energy, but as well about jobs, about economics, externalities, health impacts, and so on. Few numbers regarding India. So this is our remap case. This is our global number. We have a main focus for the G20 countries, and you can see here the India number. So we expect in 2050 that in terms of renewable energy share, India is moving towards 75%. So that's for us to have the global picture, the level of ambition and the transformation that's needed. also, I would like to highlight the electricity. So electricity use, we are talking about a huge amount of electrification. That's the another key point in the energy transformation that is happening and that we expect as well to get it faster. And in that case, the distribution generation can also play a role. Why that? We have a lot of electricity in the commercial and industry as well in residential sector. So there is a key potential there for electricity use and distribution, generation distribution. So that's our context as I would like to address. And you can see also the share of renewable energy in power. That's 92% in 2050. And solar has a huge role, as you can see, around 25% in 2050. We're talking about around 70 gigawatts, 700 gigawatts. So, from that perspective, in terms of the global transformation and the role that we understand India is playing, there are a lot of potential here. If you take the solar one, you can see there is no problem related to that. India has a huge potential. If you compare with other countries that are in Europe, at least, that are developing the solar potential, here I would say the worst place is even better than any other one. So there are a lot of potential, and as well the targets are there from 22, and we expect that to increase from that on. Not just potential, but as well competitiveness. Those two graphics you can see, they show the cost reduction that are related to solar rooftops. So we compare some cities in the US and Germany, and also in the right bottom side, you can see some cities here as well. And we're talking about competitiveness. So we're not talking about huge need of subsidies. So there is a huge innovation and cost reduction going on, and that's transforming the markets. So we have resources, we have competitiveness, and also there are a lot of benefits related to that. When we invest in renewables and in distributed generation, we can improve the resilience of the system and to save, costs for consumers. There are a lot of alternatives for that market. We're going to address a few later. One is industry. As you know, consumption in industry here is one of the biggest, and we understand that there are a lot of possibilities, direct investments, corporate source, etc. And once the established policy and regulation is in place, we understand that companies also have a role to play. That's really one of the niches that we understand could play a role here. As well, cities, buildings, there are some examples going on. We had some news today. I would just leave you the slides. I'm sure you all know some of the examples, very nice ones here in India, and we understand that there is a huge market in that niche. But last panel was really interesting, addressing not just the improvements that have been made, but also some challenges in terms of risks. So I would like to address some of the gaps and challenges from the international perspective. If we take this framework for roof solar PV deployments and we divide in 4 pillars, as you can see, we have the technical aspect, we have the supply, we have the economic, and of course, policy and regulation. And all those pillars, they must be addressed under a bigger framework that are related to the industry structure, ownership, governance, commercialization rules, and how you operate the system. So we always need to contextualize for each country. In terms of the technical aspects, what to be highlighted? In terms of the experience in the world, when we try to transform the markets, we need to improve as well the technical aspects and regulations like grid codes, etc. So this is one of the activities that are needed. Also, there are some investments and grid reinforcements, and in that case, we do need to analyze what are the areas that we should invest. And there are some experiences for other countries, and you may see that after several, let's say 15, 20% of market penetration, we start to need a new investment in infrastructures. So, if we take policy and regulation, there are some alternatives in terms of policy and regulations that are being applied in the world. One is the net metering schemes. So, in that case, in order to improve the alternative for net metering, we should consider also the hourly base analysis or pricing. That means how much could a renewable benefit in that specific time. That's one of the alternatives. Also, there are some issues regarding how much the distribution company is going to receive for the grid, for the use of the grid. That's, for instance, what's going on right now in Brazil. There is a huge discussion going on in terms of how to improve that aspect. So, we are not alone. Everywhere in the world, the discussions are taking place to improve the regulation and system, so we could benefit from that. In terms of the economic aspect, I would like to highlight the risk assessment that is needed. So we are talking about the finance of those 100 trillions of US dollars. So there is a real need for assessment, the risks and management behind. This is something that as much as the market grows, we'll need, because it's really where the market can have a maturity. You know, we're talking about less incentives and more markets deploying renewables. And also, there are a lot of benefits when you look at the economic perspective when you invest in renewables. We're talking about less fuel imports, we're talking about less dependence, so, you know, solutions that are local, and also there are some important aspects related to the supply chain. That's another very important aspect to be considered. You know, local manufacturing capabilities, how you can add value for the economy as a whole. And in that case, there are some examples that here from India, as you can see. And also, it's important for us to consider how the services are going to be provided. So there's a lot of capacity building, there is a lot of information that is needed, there is a lot of resource as a whole that is needed in order to make the market work, right? So that's the idea of those 4 pillars. So from that perspective, I would like to highlight those key messages. So first, there are a lot of opportunities, right, in the global energy transformation, and India has a key responsibility. Of course, there is a massive transformation going on in terms of the energy matrix here in India. As we understand, we're talking about more than double in a few decades, and going as well into much more renewable, so that's really a transformation. We understand solar PV is one of the jackpots, really a huge and very nice market to be addressed, and distribution generation will be one of the key solutions. So, thank you very much.